There's Button dueling Hamilton. Oh, all sorts of problems there. And he's done it again.
This is Formula One.
Guess where? Yes, Monte Carlo, a small principality in the Stirling area.
Good afternoon from Monte Carlo in glorious weather.
Monte Carlo, playground for the rich and famous, historically the most glamorous place on the planet, and once a year it plays host to a sporting spectacle.
It's probably the premier Grand Prix, the best race in Europe to win.
A throwback to a bygone era when man and machine raced not around tracks, but through the streets.
It is one of the most demanding circuits certainly of its type in the world.
It's a contest that has spawned many a great champion, and their insight into how to tackle this track remains as relevant now as it's always been.
If you can be first away, this is a big advantage.
Engines, bodies, go, go, go!
Graham Hill, how does this race compare with others in the World Championship?
It's definitely one of the toughest. The nature of the circuit is such that you require tremendous concentration.
Jackie, why do you think Monaco is so unique?
It's the sort of racetrack that seldom does the fastest car win. There's a very high mortality rate in vehicles here, so it's a question of the car that finishes.
In the smooth, slick world of F1 circuit, this is the bumpiest and the slowest, although that dilutes none of the drama.
I mean, look at the crowd going absolutely mad.
We usually see our fair share of incidents here, don't we?
Once the race starts, it seems to be more of a distraction derby.
It's so demanding here, Graham. How often do you actually change gear, do you think?
Probably changing gear about 16 times a lap. Apart from changing gear, we've got to conduct ourselves in the car around the circuit in a proper fashion and eyeball all the corners.
Chris, how should a driver approach a race like this?
If you go flat out here, the chances of finishing are fairly remote because it's so hard on cars.
Overtaking prospects, low. Tyre and brake wear, high. Downforce levels, very high.
He's right on his tail.
So why is overtaking so difficult here then, Jack?
The cars are getting so wide now, it's very difficult to get past, and if you're in traffic, you've rather got to wait for someone to make a mistake before you can nip through.
The tunnel, Mirabeau, up and down the streets of Monte Carlo, in and out of La Condamine, Monaco, still the most glamorous race in the world. So what does it really mean to win here?
The win at Monaco, it's the most beautiful thing it can happen.
And Graham, one final thought from you. Brawn are desperate to remain the team to beat. Do you think their first Monaco win could come today?
They seem to have got quite a bit of power, and looking at the rear end of their car, they've made quite a lot of improvements. And I would say, with the drivers that they've got, they're going to be quite a threat.
Gentlemen, great to see you all again, and enjoy the 2009 Monaco Grand Prix. Thank you very much.
Well, the names Hill and Stewart may hark back to a golden age of motor racing, and although the drivers will be wrestling their cars around Mirabeau, through the tunnel and past the harbour behind me today, just like their predecessors did, this is 2009, and Formula One remains as dramatic, as exciting and as unpredictable as ever. And if any circuit's likely to add to the drama we've already seen this season, this is it. The shortest, slowest track of the year, but that takes nothing away from the breathtaking bravery and drama as the drivers introduce their car's paintwork to the Armco barriers lap after lap, searching for the slimmest overtaking opportunity and the chance to say they tamed the most famous track of all. And whilst today is all about matching their heroes of the past, the teams and drivers will have one eye on what's next as they gear up for the vastly different street circuits of Valencia and Singapore later in the season, before we all get a true glimpse of the future in Abu Dhabi in November. Well, as you can see, the sun is shining. I have to say it's all slightly overwhelming for a boy from a small village in Norfolk, but I'm joined by two guys who've spent most of their lives hanging out here. Eddie Jordan, David Coulthard. Eddie, I I don't know how you cope with this place. I've been here for 4 days and I'm exhausted. You come here all the time.
I'm still crying about you, this poor boy from Norfolk. I mean, you've been here. All the girls doing the fashion show. Come on, give me a break.
OK, let's not talk about the fashion show right now. We might have a look at that a bit later on, though. What is special about here, though, is that you really feel a connection to the circuit that we maybe haven't felt so far this season.
Well, we're much closer to the track, that's the first thing, and the people are able to get much closer, and there's this feeling, it's a kind of a theatre, and it's the jewel in the crown. Everybody wants to be at Monaco, whether it's the sponsor, the teams, the staff, everybody wants to come here, and why not? It's just an adorable place.
I was amazed yesterday when you said that the harbour used to be busier than this. I'm not sure how they could get another boat packed into this. But David, let's have a little chat about street circuits, because we've got a couple more coming up towards the end of the year. This is more than just a street circuit, though, isn't it? For the spectators and I guess for the drivers as well.
Yeah, we have, as you say, other street circuits, Valencia and Singapore coming up later in the year, but they have a modern twist to them. So there is runoff in certain areas, but somewhere like Monaco, you're really hugging the barrier all the way around the track. I think Martin referred to it in qualifying yesterday. It's like a badge of honour if you can leave the Bridgestone name against the Armco barrier. And certainly when we looked at Jensen's qualifying yesterday, there was a few places where he was literally rubbing the barrier.
It's a badge of honour to win here as well, and you've done that twice. But today is, of course, all about scoring points as well as impressing all the people huddled onto their boats here. And this is the way that it's standing at the moment. Jensen Button arrives here with 41 points from the first 5 races. That's championship form by anybody's standards. His teammate Rubens Barrichello, well, he'll be more likely looking over his shoulder now at the Red Bulls of Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel, who are eyeing up his second place. Well, championship winners Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Räikkönen, they're all having to get used to life away from the sharp end of things at present. And looking at the constructors, Brawn GP currently have more points than their 2 nearest rivals combined. McLaren, Renault, BMW, Ferrari, they all know that to satisfy the fans and the money men, they need to start producing. In the current financial climate, it's a dangerous time to not be doing the business on the track. But I have to say, if you arrived here from Mars and you got plopped straight into the harbour here knowing nothing about the world, you would not realise that we're in the midst of a rather bad financial crisis. However, that hasn't stopped everybody turning up here. You know, they say that 2 types of people come to Monaco, those who are rich and those who like to look at the rich. Well, this weekend it's been taken over by people who like to look at the cars, and the best place to be if you want the atmosphere is way over there up on the hill, where I imagine there's one party going on, I tell you.
Welcome to Monaco. These are the cheap seats, if there is such a thing here. I am hanging on for life to a branch precariously positioned on the hillside underneath the palace. In fact, it's so steep here that people even bring their own shovels to dig themselves in for the day. But as you can tell, the atmosphere is absolutely fantastic. But the good news is that the view is even better.
We were up at about just after 5. Mad rush, straight out the house and down here. 75 quid or whatever it cost, and it's fantastic. Can't believe we're here.
I've been to other Grand Prix before, not to Monaco, but this is totally surreal. The yachts, the people, the atmosphere is really, really good.
And if you thought sitting on the side of the hill watching the race was bad, then how would you fancy this? These guys have been sleeping here for the last 3 nights. You see, it's not all champagne in Monaco. These are the real F1 fans.
Well, it could be a tough day for Lewis Hamilton, and you'll find out why very shortly. Just over 40 minutes to go until the race, so I hope that the guys up there on the hill inside their tents have crawled out to ready themselves for the race this afternoon. But if you just take a look behind me and have a look at this harbour, you can see over there the biggest boat of all, and that means a lot here in Monaco, is the Indian Empress. Now, that belongs to Vijay Mallya, who's in charge of the Force India team, and right next door to his is Flavio Briatore's boat. You can't miss it because it's got a huge gold sort of FB right on the top. It's very nice indeed. And this weekend, there's been sort of more attention on that boat than there has been on Flavio's Renault team, because all of the team bosses have been meeting to try and work out the future of Formula One. Since it was announced there would be a budget cap of £40 million to enter next year, well, the teams weren't happy at all. They met this weekend. Apparently, the talk of now having a breakaway series has gone away, and Ted is speaking with Max Mosley. Here are his thoughts.
Yes, well, the team bosses have had meetings after qualifying and again this morning in Monaco. But Max Mosley, what's the situation as we are going into the race?
Well, I think slowly we're getting to a situation where everybody's going to agree, or at least the majority will agree.
And that means agree to a budget cap set at 40 million?
Yes. Well, 45 million euros, I think, is the figure now, but for all practical purposes, yes.
So have you managed to break them down to that?
Well, I think we're going to maybe go there in one stage. There may be an intermediate year in 2010. That's still under discussion. But then that we really come to these figures in 2011. And I think the reason that it is going that way is that everybody understands that it simply cannot go on at the present level. The money isn't there.
OK, Max, thanks very much.
Well, there you go. There will be changes, but it looks like it won't be for 2010. As Max said there is still a lot more discussions to go on, and we'll be discussing this with David Coulthard and Eddie Jordan very shortly, but there isn't really time to get into it and do it justice here on BBC One. We will be talking about it, though, on the F1 forum. All you have to do is press red straight after the programme, so you can join us and you can get involved as well. All you need to do is drop us an email, f1@bbc.co.uk, and you can send us an email anytime. Please don't wait till the end of the programme. Send them in now. We'd love to see what you've got to say and hopefully read out your emails as well. Now, this place, look at it. It's all about kudos, status symbols, a chance to say to other people, have a look what I've got. Well, this weekend, the 20 F1 drivers all wanted one thing and one thing only, to be at the front of the grid come the start of the race.
Of all the qualifying sessions of the season, Monaco has the biggest effect on the race outcome. It requires more concentration, more precision, more nerve, focus and skill than any other. If you get it wrong, you can't overtake, and you're condemned to a race with little chance of success. Getting it wrong in so many ways was Lewis Hamilton. He admitted he braked too late and lost the rear of the McLaren.
Don't know what I was thinking. I made a mistake, and it's been going well all weekend. I apologise to the team for wasting the time.
Felipe Massa had an early scare but would survive into Q3. But both Toyotas were eliminated in Q1 with no grip, while it was the same story for the BMWs as desperation set in with wild setup changes.
We also tried to change completely setup to see if it helped, but it didn't, so yeah, it looks like whatever we do, we are always there.
The Force Indias and the Toro Rossos achieved higher grid positions than usual, but Nelson Piquet underperformed yet again in the Renault. But massive frustration for Sebastian Vettel. He had the lightest fuel load of them all, but the Williams held him up and the chance of pole was gone.
It's difficult. I mean, we were expecting more, so our chance is getting smaller, but on the other hand, hope is always there, and we're here to fight.
Kimi Räikkönen starts on the front row, but he doubts he'll be able to exploit his Kerr's boost at the start.
We used, but I mean, it's probably not the length of the straight for the first corner is probably not enough.
But what you need in Monaco is a car with great mechanical grip, and that's where the Brawn excels. Jenson Button delivered the exceptional lap of qualifying, pole position from Räikkönen and his teammate Rubens Barrichello.
I thought I had him, because I had him for the whole weekend, and all of a sudden he appears from nowhere. I mean, I got out of the car and I hugged him and said, I mean, well done, you're doing fantastic.
Again, this weekend we started with a car that I wasn't happy with, and we've worked so hard over the last few days to get it right, and it came good in qualifying, and it's the best lap I've done this weekend for sure. My last qualifying lap, and probably one of the best laps ever in my life.
So the most important pole of the season goes to the runaway championship leader, Button's 7th career pole. Kimi Räikkönen with real pace. Barrichello and Vettel on the second row. Massa ended up 5th. Rosberg felt he should have done better than 6th. Then it's Kovalainen, Webber and Alonso set for a race-long battle. Best of the season for Kazuki Nakajima. Sebastian Buemi was the class of the midfield, while Giancarlo Fisichella the quickest Force India. A combined budget of £400 million, and all Toyota and BMW could manage was the last 3 rows of the grid. Last year's winner, Lewis Hamilton, starts at the back after a gearbox change, while Toyota decided to change Timo Glock's setup, so he starts from the pit lane.
Jenson, a fantastic lap. Just tell us exactly what your first pole position in Monaco means to you.
It means quite a lot, and I think it means more because it's been a weekend that has been quite tough, because we started on Thursday with a car that I was nowhere near happy with. And we couldn't get any tyre temp in the front tyres. It was locking up, and it was really, really tough. So it's not been the best run-up to qualifying in one way, and another way it's been very good because we've been able to work with the car and we've improved every run we've done, really. So I think the team's done a great job, sorting the balance out. And we finally got there in the end. So to get the pole position after a tough weekend it's a very special pole position for sure.
Well, you talked about the lap. Let's talk us through the lap, because it was fantastic. You said it was one of the best laps of your career, you felt?
It was, and here we are starting the lap.
crossing the start and finish line. It's always, you're always very tense. There's always a lot of adrenaline pumping. Braking for turn 1 here is very difficult, very bumpy. Just clip the apex, try not to clip the exit wall. Up the hill, and it's just about getting the perfect gear shifts because you lose a lot of time. Braking to the left here, just grab the second apex there, and then the third gear for the right-hander there through Casino Square. Braking down into Mirabeau, found it very difficult here. You can see the front right lifting off the ground there and locking up. Brake as late as you can here into Lowe's. Reasonably good traction. Through the right here, I've struggled. I almost put it in the barrier there, as you can see. Through the apex before the tunnel, get on the power. A lot of wheel spin there, hit the limiter a little bit. Through the tunnel, gathering yourself up for the chicane here. Had a big accident here before, not this lap. Taking the curbs nicely there, good traction, not too much oversteer. And here I'm running a lot of front wing for this left-hander to back. Had a big problem with understeer through the chicane here previously, but got it sweet through there that lap. Over the curbs there, very close to the barrier on the outside, you can get a lot of time. Locked the front right here, ran a little bit wide because of that, didn't really cost me any time though. Dab on the throttle, slightly on the brakes for the last corner, exit the last corner with a bit of wheel spin on the curb, doesn't lose you much time, and cross the line, and that was my pile lap, which is 14.902. My quickest lap of the weekend, and I was obviously running fuel. So, it all came together when I did that lap. It's very difficult talking through that lap because it's
exhausting listening to it.
It's so fast. But it all came together, and we got the balance right, and we were playing with the pressures all the way through qualifying to try and give me enough front end. So I'm maxed out, really, really struggling to get front end in the car. But we got it perfect for that last run in qualifying, and personally, I think I was very happy with my lap, and I couldn't have got any more out of it. I did push it to the limit, and as I said in the press conference, I almost ended up in the harbour a couple of times. I was pushing that hard.
What about people talking about championships or even this race tomorrow? I mean, how difficult is it to keep emotions reined in and to keep them in check? Because that's just a natural part of life, the excitement that comes with doing things like this.
Yeah, it does, and I enjoyed that moment very much, getting the pole, but already I'm thinking about tomorrow, and it's the way you got to be. And I'm thinking about the race tomorrow. People are saying you're not thinking about the championship, but that's November. That's when we look around and go, oh, I've got more points than everyone else, or they've got more points than me. What's the point of thinking about it now? I'm thinking race by race, and that's the only way I'm going to have a performance like that, because if you start thinking about the championship, I think you back off a little bit, and you think, I'll get it home, I'll get some reasonably good points. But you can't do that at this point of the season, so I've got to be 100%, and to do that I need to take it race by race, qualifying by qualifying, and practice by practice. It's the way it has to be.
Well, the way it is so far is that he's done all that's been asked of him. He is on pole. If you take a look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a weather report popping up. The sun will be shining. It's certainly shining on Jenson Button. And Lee was talking to him there last night, and I popped into the paddock, and he was buzzing. Now, you were on pole here 8 years ago. Just tell us how he would have felt this morning when he got up. What would be going through his mind today?
Well, I'm sure he slept very well last night, because you're in a position of power being in pole position in Monaco. Obviously, he's got to get to that first corner and out-launch the Ferrari. But if you can make it there, then I think he's got this race pretty much under control.
Did you sleep well the night before you were on pole? Because I would have thought it'd be totally the opposite.
No, absolutely, you do. When you've done the difficult part on Saturday, you've taken the pole position, it gives you a massive advantage around this track. And he'll be a little bit nervous now in the countdown to the start. But otherwise, he mentioned there he's taking this a race at a time for the championship, and he'll be taking this race a corner by corner, lap by lap. And it's a long race, it's a hard race, but if he gets a jump at the start, then he's got the large part of the work done.
Well, if anyone knows how you should tackle this race, of course, it's you. You've been very successful here over the years, and yesterday we saw what can go wrong if you're not 100% tuned in at all times. Now, this is in the GP2. This is Romain Grosjean, who's the current leader in GP2. He's sort of Renault's boy wonder. Just explain what happens here, David.
Okay, well, there's the car in front, who I'm not sure who it is, obviously blocks, comes back across in front of him, and then Grosjean rides up over the back of that wheel. And this is always the big problem with single-seater open-wheel cars. And this is the worst-case scenario for a circuit like Monaco. But thankfully, the barriers did their job. Driver was okay. Car stayed within the circuit. They've repaired that, and we'll all be in good shape for the Grand Prix today. Yeah, Romain jumped out the car. He was fine. But if Jenson Button's seen that, Eddie, that may well make him think, hold on a minute, I don't want that to happen to me today. He talks about the fact that he's not thinking about the World Championship. But, you've been involved with drivers who are pushing for the limit the whole time. You can't ignore the fact that you could win the world title this year. Will he slightly ease off at times, do you think, today?
Well, I think he's seen every side of motor racing from junior up to this level, and he knows how David is talking about in terms of taking one race at a time. Of course, in the back of his mind, he's not stupid. He is thinking about the championship. And I think that if he had to finish second today, instead of sacrifice a possible incident at the start of the thing, I think he might just take second place.
He'll want the victory. This
of course
is
he will, but
the race of the championship. This is the one. He's a local boy, and he'll definitely want that badge of honour to be the Monaco winner.
I think something else he'll be aware of is that it's Button versus the Kurz button on the front, because he's got Kimi Raikkonen next to him, and if Kimi does deploy that button and gets in front of him, we all know how tough it is to overtake here. We had a look at this yesterday, but I don't think we can see too much of Nigel Mansell and Ayrton Senna going toe-to-toe back in 1992. And the story with this, if we can take a look at it now, is that Nigel Mansell was quite a bit quicker than Ayrton Senna, but he just couldn't get past him, could he, Eddie?
Well, look, it's impossible. All sorts of things happen. Even if a car is 3 seconds a lap quicker than one in front, he still won't get by. It's impossible because the driver makes it so difficult. The person in front controls everything. That's why I think it's really important that Jensen can outdrag, if possible, the Kurz Ferrari into the first corner. It'll be make or break.
Well, obviously Raikkonen's been listening to your criticism, Eddie, because he's put in a sterling performance yesterday, getting that Ferrari on the front row.
Well, judging by the number of complaints I had from them, I suppose he must be listening to it.
And you're wearing a lovely red shirt as well, so we're obviously going all Ferrari today. But Nigel Mansell is, of course, here. Both of his kids have followed in his footsteps. Leo, he races a Ferrari in the Le Mans Series, and Greg has been racing this weekend in the World Series by Renault. He raced this morning, he came 14th. And incidentally, it's worth telling you that in both the feeder series that raced out on track today, British drivers won, so maybe we could have a hat-trick here today. But Nigel Mansell was pipped to victory back in 1992 and still fresh in the memory. Here he was talking to Ted.
Well, Nigel, it's great to see you, as always. What kind of memories come back to you when you come to a place like this?
Oh, fantastic, and probably the one that got away in 92.
And I do not see how Mansell is going to be able to get by.
It's a wonderful place, the Principality, and fantastic weekend, the weather, and great for England with Jensen and the Brawn, and I think between Barrichello and Jensen we'll have a fantastic weekend.
I was going to ask you about Jensen. Do you think he's actually raised his game, or do you think he's been the same driver he always has been? It's just been the car.
No, I think the great thing is that he's done his apprenticeship now. He knows how difficult and how hard it's been and how easy it's been for other people. And he's not going to let this opportunity go. You know, adversity builds character, but I think the thing is that when you're a race car driver, you know, you get your opportunities, and we all know what a terrible year he had last year and the year before.
And he's won 4 out of 5 so far, much like well, much like 92. Were you always protecting that lead, or were you just going out to win every race that you could?
You just got to keep your head down. You never know when the tide turns, but I think for this year, hopefully it'll be too late.
And what about Lewis? He seems to be having trouble almost understanding the fact that he's not going to have the best car all the time.
He's understanding how tough it can be, because he obviously appreciated how easy it was walking into a great team on top of their game. He's still there defending his championship. Some of us weren't given that opportunity. And you wait till the British Grand Prix. Have another possible British world champion, one after another. I mean, I can't remember in the history when that was done, but, you know, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we're all looking forward to it, and as you can see, the cars are out on track, just making their way round to the grid now. The pit lane is open, and if you're wondering why we're not doing a usual sort of pit lane prowling, it's just because here in Monaco there is simply not the room to do it. And my mum always moans she can't hear me when the cars are coming out of the garages, so she's one person who's happy about this today. Interesting to hear Nigel Mansell talk about Jensen's past. You know, he said it's come easy to some people. I guess by that he means Lewis Hamilton. But Jensen has struggled for the past few years. How do you think it's helped him dealing with this season and some success finally?
Well, I've said before that at 29 years old, I think he's a mature enough man to make the most of this opportunity. He's served his apprenticeship, only achieved 1 victory before the season, and then obviously had a difficulty in the last few years with Honda. But I think he's dug deep. He's shown that he's got great talent. And when it really matters, these last 2 qualifying sessions we've seen in these last 2 Grand Prix have been amazing. He's pulled the lap time out at the end, so he's a world-class driver, truly fantastic.
As you can see, there are plenty of Hyper guests making their way into the paddock here. I've just realised, actually, that it isn't any quieter being a long way away from the pit lane, Eddie. It's just as loud here because, of course, the sound reverberates from the buildings all around us. Give us what the thoughts were from the team bosses about Jensen Button, because Ross Brawn has happily come out and said that before this year, he wasn't sure if Jensen was World Championship material, solely because he hadn't worked with him. He didn't know that if he had that extra little edge that you need to do the business at the very front in F1.
I'm not sure why Ross said that, because he has driven with in the same team of Ferrari with Barrichello, so that would have been a good barometer for him to judge, and certainly in previous years Barrichello and Button would have been very, very close, so he should have known that he was very quick. Just one pinpoint that David picked up on. I think the career path of Nigel Mansell and Button would be very close. That's why I think that Nigel could relate to that much easier, because of the struggles that they both had to get to where they got to.
Well, there is Flavio Briatore, and Fernando Alonso's being pushed into position there. It's interesting to point out that this is Fernando Alonso's worst qualifying here since he drove a Minardi in 2001. What does that tell us about the car? Because it certainly doesn't tell us about the standard of the driver.
No, as we see Jacques Villeneuve there being interviewed, he was never that good round this circuit. But yeah, no, Fernando will be disappointed to find himself in that situation, and I'm sure he's thinking long and hard about his future. He knows he's not in the championship battle this year, and rumours around that he may be looking for Ferrari in the future.
Absolutely. Let's make a mention of Red Bull as well, because Sebastian Vettel looked so frustrated. I saw him walking around last night, and when you get held up behind someone and you're on low fuel and you're in Monaco, it's kind of the worst possible situation, Eddie.
Well, it is. It's incredibly frustrating, and the thing with Vettel, bear in mind, this is the first time he hasn't qualified in the top three, and from that point of view, this will be a major disappointment, because he came here with a double diffuser on the Red Bull. He was all hyped up. The whole effort of the team was hyped up, and they really will be disappointed with this.
Well, that's Lewis Hamilton's car sitting at the very back of the grid. What do you do if you're Lewis Hamilton on a day like this? You won the race last year, you're the defending world champion. Is it a case of go around, put some miles on the clock and see how the car feels?
Well, in 2001 I started at the back of this race. I'd qualified on pole, but engine switched off before the start, and it's a long, lonely race when you have a good car. He was very quick in qualifying up until his crash, and he's going to struggle to score points from there. But Monaco, anything can happen. You know, it's a long race. The driver's got to keep the concentration, so he knows it's not all over, but he'll certainly be struggling to see the start lights from that far back.
Well, of course, he actually hit the barrier last year and still won the race, and Sebastian Vettel back in 2008, he started 19th, he eventually came 5th, so maybe it's not all over for him, Eddie.
Oh, I think in a day like today, where there's absolutely no risk of rain or changeable conditions, this is going to be a long, hard, hot race. And Lewis Hamilton, in my view, probably a different strategy. If it would have been me, I'd have started him from the pit lane, fueled it up and done one stop. I'm really intrigued as to how this two-stop system is going to work with 19 laps of fuel on board. I wouldn't see how he's going to get by these guys.
Well, there's Lewis taking some photos, doing a bit of filming. As Eddie's already mentioned, I was presenting a fashion show the other night here in Monaco for charity, and actually Lewis arrived filming on his phone when he got there. It's interesting that you can be the world champion, be surrounded by all this, and you just like everybody else, you still film it on your mobile phone.
Yeah, the difference is he's probably being paid for that, isn't he? He's probably being used for some, webcam or some feature that he's doing. I can't imagine that he's just doing the tourist around Monaco.
No, Jake, he told me he was actually filming you because you're such an icon these days.
Yes, I believe that. Right, OK, talking of icons, let's now join Martin Brundle down on the grid. If there's one place to be, Martin, where people are going to be envious of you, it is down there, but get ready for the crush when you make your way into the crowd.
Thank you, Captain Jake. Well, look at the serenity of Monaco today. Doesn't it look lovely? That's the run down to the first corner, bent like a banana. It's much wider here than at any other part of the racetrack because the yellow line depicts the pit lane. Now, 8 GP2 cars yesterday were penalised for cutting inside the first corner, using the pit exit effectively. Just check with Charlie Whiting. That's not going to happen in Formula One as long as they're not just having a laugh down there and being extreme. So they can steam in there if it's all going wrong in front of them. But it's not very far down there, and that's a problem for Kimi Raikkonen with the extra 80 horsepower of his KERS system. But look, this is not serenity at all. This is the madness of the Monaco grid. So if we just dive in together, Max Mosley there, we had a word from him earlier on in the programme, and see if we can find a pedal or two. And here's a man I just want to... John Button, you said something to me last night that I thought was amazing about Jensen.
I can't remember. How many glasses of wine had I had?
You hadn't had any at that point, but you said that he's even surprising you.
Oh, yes, sorry, yeah. That was true. I mean, I'm his father, and I spoke to him and said, look, you're even surprising me now, which...
And what did he say to that?
He just smiled and said it wasn't a perfect lap.
All right, well, we'll go and find him and see if we can learn a little bit more about that not perfect lap. See, the problem is here, the cars are up against the wall, and Prince Michael of Kent, hello sir, how are you today?
Really good to be here in Monaco.
Good stuff, and you here in official capacity or just to have a good time?
No, not really, but with my REC hat on, it's nice to keep tabs on what's going on here in Formula One. We're going to be in the Brawn pit today, and we've already been having a look at it. And very exciting it is now to see how this brilliant young driver has come through from the dark days of last autumn, and now is beginning to dominate this particular part of sport. So we're all there to wave the flag for him.
I think you've chosen the right pit today. Good to see you again. Let's see if we can get across there. The track is so narrow. There's an 8-metre difference between each car. Obviously, that's based on the average length of a Formula One Ego. Is Pat, where's your car, mate? Have you lost your car? Right at the back. Yes, Pat Fry, who designed this year's McLaren, having a bit of a torrid time. And let's see if we can just dive in here and talk to the pole sitter. Jensen. Hello, chap. Right, you said earlier on our programme that you're not going to play it safe today. You got every session, every quali, every race. You got to go for it. Do you mean that?
Yeah, I mean, as a driver, you know that you want to win every race anyway. So, yeah, I don't think you should change your view. And I'm starting on pole, so I've made, I've got the easiest race, if you like, compared to the rest, because I'm starting in front of them. But it's still not going to be easy. Kimi's car, I'm sure, will be good off the line. I don't know what tyres he's going to be running. We have to wait and see. But
these super softs, they're only going to last 14 or 15 laps, aren't they? Ones with the green stripes.
I don't know, are they?
That's what I keep hearing, but your car seems nicely balanced. Maybe you'll...
We'll have to wait and see, but I don't know what other people are doing, so I don't know if I should sort of give it away what we're up to.
No, don't do that, because people are listening. But he's got 5 laps less fuel than you, and he's got another 80 horsepower. Once he gets to 100 kilometres, 62 miles an hour, and his KERS system kicks in, do you think he can make that count down to turn 1?
I don't know. I mean, it's a really short straight. It's the shortest straight from the start line to turn 1, so I can even see the place where I'm going to be braking, so it's not a problem, hopefully. And,
you're going to cover him off the line?
I can't say too much, as you say, everyone's listening, but if I can get away in the lead, it'll be a great position to be in. As you know, around Monaco, it's difficult to overtake. He has KERS, but I'd be surprised if he's able to use it, and then it's down to strategy, and I think looking after the tyres in this race will play a part also. So.
Really appreciate you taking time to talk to us. Let's move on, see what else we can find around here. And let's have a Marty's random person. We haven't had one of those. Excuse me, do you speak English?
Yes.
Who are you from? I've got a few million friends here. Keen to know how you got on the grid today.
I'm a Brazilian journalist, so...
Oh, cool. Excellent. So you're like me then, yeah? You're a journo. I hate that. Usually they say, yeah, I went to school with you. Don't you remember me? I don't think Kimi Räikkönen will talk to us. In fact, I'm not entirely sure he talks at all these days. But he's not on the grid anyway. Here's a man I want to talk to, former world champion, Jacques Villeneuve. Jacques, sorry, mate, you're trying to look at the grid and we're all interrupting you. Are you missing this business? I heard you say you might come back to Formula One, given half a chance.
Well, seeing slick tires, the cars look fun to drive, so yeah, missing it a bit now.
So what's your purpose here this weekend? Just to have fun, hang out, or are you on a mission?
Oh, that's a tough question, isn't it? Well, Monaco is always the race to come and watch. Everybody's here, a lot of old friends, and it's a fun weekend. But with all the chaos happening now in F1, you never know.
But you wouldn't be fast enough and fit enough anymore, would you, like me? Surely, tell me that.
Well, I didn't go to TV yet, so yeah, I would still be fit enough.
Okay, good luck. Let's see who else we can find around here. We've got Vettel's Red Bull here. Let's see. Apparently Michael Johnson's to my left here, so we'll doorstep him in a hurry.
I'm fast, they're quick.
Michael, a quick word for our co-employers in the UK, BBC. Good to see you. What's your purpose here this weekend?
I'm sorry?
What brings you here this weekend? Who are you with?
I'm out here just checking it out, just checking out the races. I'm a big fan, so every chance I get. I usually come here every year to Monaco, but I try to get to a couple of other races each year.
Yeah, well, you're the man with the golden boots and the lap records, the world records, what have you, but Button's doing an amazing job, isn't he, this year?
Absolutely. I mean, the car's great as well, and he's doing a great job. He's just seemed to be so focused at this point. He's got a lot of confidence in the car right now, and I mean, he's doing fabulous, doing a great job.
Can you relate to this chaos that's going on around these athletes as they're about to deliver 2 hours of really intense action. Can you imagine going through that yourself?
Yeah, it's what happens. I mean, when you come into this situation what it's going to be, and you've got to just maintain your focus. I mean, all of these things that are going on around the drivers, don't affect the driver at all. The driver's got a job to do. He's focused on what he's got to do and the task at hand. And, this is what we see, but the driver, I guarantee you, he's only seeing, the objective, and that's what he's focused on. Okay,
I'm going to move on. I'm hearing that, is Bernie here with his arms around, I think it's his daughter. Bernie. Oh, it's Jerry Halliwell. Sorry, it's not his daughter. That's gonna go down well, isn't it? I'd rather talk to Jerry. Have you got a quick word for us?
I love fast cars.
Do you? So do I.
I'm a bit of a speed freak. Love Ferrari, but I'm really proud of Jenson Button. Brit's doing it again. It could be second time winner, the championship, and he's had a bit of a journey. And I love his smooth drives. I think it's brilliant.
You should come and work with us in the commentary box. You're really keyed up on this.
My father was a car dealer, so I'm very excited. We go way back. How excited are you?
Very excited.
Who do you want to win?
Super upset with him keep winning. We say it should be unpredictable. It's bloody predictable again.
Well, everyone has their moment, though, don't you think? He didn't have his moment 10 years back.
If I could just butt in here, because we got a few million people watching this. Sorry, I would like to apologise because I said it was Bernie's daughter that was standing with him, but maybe I don't have to apologise. Bernie, is common sense going to break out in Formula One between all the teams and yourself?
Of course not.
Well, it really needs to, don't you think?
Don't worry, it will.
All right, I think it will. Thanks for your time. Thank you, Jerry. Have a great day. Jake.
Well, we were waiting for the national anthem that never arrived there, but I think far more importantly, let's talk about the fact that Martin Brundle almost broke the biggest news story of the millennium, Jerry Halliwell's Bernie's daughter. Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think she'll take offence at that because she's a little bit older than his daughter, so I think ladies are a bit more sensitive to age.
All right, well, it doesn't quite run like clockwork here, does it? But here is now the national anthem. Right, we're getting close now, very close indeed, just about 7 minutes until it's lights out. Now, as we all know, having the perfect strategy around here, or even maybe a lucky safety car or a rain shower, can make all the difference to your race. But how have the teams decided to tackle today? Well, here's Ted with how much fuel the cars have on board and what that can tell us.
Qualifying was so tight, there's just 2 feet in real distance between Jenson Button and Kimi Räikkönen. Button has the advantage, being 3 kilos heavier, but must watch out for Kimi at the start. Vettel's light car was wasted, as was Nico Rosberg's Williams. So if they were all on the same fuel load, we can see that the masters of Monaco were Button, Räikkönen and Barrichello, who all did great jobs in qualifying. The second division drivers are headed by Felipe Massa, who was half a second slower, while the Williams and McLaren cars are more suited to Monaco than other tracks. Pit stops today will be dominated by tyre wear. The super soft tyre with the green edge is very slow, so drivers like Sebastian Vettel could do their first short stint on that tyre. Rosberg, Räikkönen, Massa and Kovalainen all stop within a lap of each other, while Jenson Button goes to lap 20. Fernando Alonso is heavier, and Williams put Nakajima on a long first stint 2-stop. Safety cars are always likely here, so strategies must remain fluid.
Well, Felipe Massa sort of did his point and squirt qualifying session round here, half a second slower than his teammate, and they're on identical fuel loads. That's strange. I mean, he did say last year that he doesn't like it here, but he was on pole 12 months ago.
Yeah, but confidence plays such a big part in achieving a good qualifying lap here, and if he was just doubting a little bit the entry to the corners, we saw him drop it at the beginning of qualifying. He locked his rear axle, spoke to him afterwards, said it was new brakes, and it just grabbed, so that might have just set him back for the rest of the session.
Now, it was Rubens' birthday yesterday, 37 years old. He got his best ever qualifying here to come fourth. That's in 17 attempts, so he knows this place pretty well by now. What do you expect from him this afternoon, Eddie?
Well, we heard from Barcelona that he was a little bit miffed as to the difference in the strategy with the team, and that's not going to be the case here. We know what the fuel load is like, so they're on the same thing. Third place may not be a bad place to start here, because there may be, you never know what's going to happen coming into the first corner and indeed up the hill with the cars. Third place could be a very steady, good start for him, and if he can get an extra couple of laps at the end of his stint, he could wind up in front.
Well, Bernie Ecclestone continues to meet and greet. He's been meeting the teams so far this weekend rather than anybody else, so I'm sure he's pleased to get out there and shake a few hands. It's interesting to hear Michael Johnson talk about the fact that these guys are athletes, they'll just get out there and they'll cope. What is it actually like on pole come race day in Monaco, DC, with all these people around?
It is more distracting here than the other races because of you can see just from that shot there how close everything is on the grid. And you do feel that, but you have your team around you. You can see Jensen when he was being interviewed, he had his trainer behind him. And he'll feel in his own little safety zone there, and now they're in the car is when they really start to focus. But all the drivers are used to, when they're out of the car, you meet and greet with the various team sponsors and you do some interviews, so it's part of the job.
We've had your thoughts on the KERS button time and time again so far this season, Eddie. Give us your thoughts on slicks, because the drivers seem to be enjoying those round here.
Well, it's the most natural thing that's come back. I was never a big advocate of the groove tyres. I thought they were a sham and they weren't depicting the right style that Grand Prix racing should be going in. And now that we're back on slicks, this is what we know, what we're used to, and what most drivers have grown up with. It's a fantastic move.
Interesting to listen to Villeneuve as well, showing his interest in Formula One because they are back on slicks. He was very critical of the groove tyres when he left Formula One. See Jensen there looking very cool as he slipped on his helmet. It's surprising he's one of the last drivers to get in his car, so he's obviously in no rush to get out there into the Grand Prix. You see the Union Jack flying there. But I wonder if it'll be flying at the end of this when the checker flag drops.
Yes, well, let's hope it doesn't finish upside down as well today with Jensen at the back. Absolutely. Well, it's been a pretty special weekend so far, and very, very busy as always. Here's just a little taster of the kind of stuff that's been going on.
The Monaco Race Week has plenty of time for the drivers to relax and have some fun away from the track. Amber Fashion saw them swapping race suits for style, made of Elton John's Aid Foundation. But who's the worst dressed driver in the pit lane?
He's not racing anymore. He used to be very fast. He's given up racing now. I can't mention any names there.
Timo Glock spent his day off speeding on the seas instead of the circuit. Hats off to him. Meanwhile, BMW's Nick Heidfeld did a bit of sightseeing around the Principality, although it seemed as if he was more interested in the track instead of the tourist sites and his lunch. And the annual charity match took place between Prince Albert's team and a driver's 11. It was a chance for those who were more used to the tarmac than the turf to show off their footwork, or not, in the case of Jarno Trulli. Fisichella was lucky to come away with his feet, and Alonso should have come away with an Oscar. The drivers won 5-2, and for Fisi, it was at last a chance to get his hands on some silverware in Monaco.
And the chances of a repeat today are pretty slim for him, I think. Right, let's head up to the commentary box and have a chat with Jonathan Ledyard. And Jonathan, we're here out on the deck. We've got the track just behind us in the sunshine. You should be commentating from here.
No, this is the place to be. This is the place to be. Just on the exit of the swimming pool chicane, the complex there, we can look into the pit lane as well. This is all in front of us, and it's well set, is it not? Jensen Button looking great, but I wonder whether there'll be some danger from Kimi Raikkonen and Ferrari, Red Bull, and let's not forget the man who is Jensen Button's teammate, Rubens Barrichello. He would love to get on that top step. Never done that before in Monaco.
And you'll have your eye on those front wings as well, Jonathan. We lost a fair few of those last year, didn't we?
We did, and I know various teams, in fact all the teams, bring extra front wings here because they're well aware that they're more like snowplows than traditional Formula One front wings, and therefore there's an element of risk and greater threat to them being dislodged at that first corner, and maybe throughout the race as well, particularly in a fairly chaotic first lap. But they'll be ready, they'll all be ready. They're used to this. It's very cramped conditions, but they're ready.
OK, Jonathan, thank you. Enjoy the race, and there are a variety of ways that you can enjoy the race with us this afternoon. If you decide to press the red button, then you can ride on board. There's also lots of extra data feeds and things that you can do there as well, and you can stick with that for the whole race if you wish, or maybe halfway through you can log on to the BBC Sport website, bbc.co.uk/sport, click on Formula 1. You can watch the race live on there, you can get live timings, you can also read blogs, check out circuit guides and all sorts. And if you miss anything today, then the iPlayer is available for you when you get back in this evening. So there you go, the iPlayer online or via the red button. There's all sorts of options for you. Right, gentlemen, it is a one-word answer. Winner for today.
Jensen, I hope.
Indeed, Jensen.
OK, so a Briton at the front, a Briton at the back, and 78 laps to decide who gets to win the race that every driver wants to win. In the company of Martin Brundle and Jonathan Ledyard, it's live and uninterrupted, the 2009 Monaco Grand Prix.